So, James Cleverley is in Beijing in the first visit of a UK Foreign Secretary in more than 5 years. Now, well before the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, but the Foreign Affairs Committee today released a report urging more transparency from our government and our approach to the Asian superpower. Look, essentially, should we be engaging with China or not? Are they actually our enemies? Are we just appeasing to them? Is Cleverley being there just a vivid sign of weakness? Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society, Alan Mendoza, joins me now. Should James Cleverley have gone to Beijing just to tell China to do one and then come home?
Well, if only he was telling them to do one, but that's not what he's going to be telling them, is it, Patrick? He's going to say, look, you've been very bad on human rights, but why can't we all work together? The way forward is clear. We are your friends, etc., etc., etc. And so on that basis, I don't think there was a real value in this meeting, because all the Chinese will take it is that we're, kind of happy to accept whatever they want.
Yeah, which is pathetic, isn't it? Because the thing is, though, we have been happy to accept whatever they want. And this is what winds me up. We were happy to accept COVID, essentially, with no repercussions and all of the absolute lies and nuttery that came out of their explanations for that. The fact that they've undercut manufacturing for however long, the fact that they clearly don't mean as well on the international stage, Hong Kong, all of this stuff. I mean, there's even footage of, some Chinese officials battering people outside their embassies in the UK, for goodness sake. We let that slide, don't we? I mean, what next? I mean, we will let them get away with anything, won't we?
Well, here's the problem. I mean, you've just highlighted a litany of offences that the Chinese regime has been responsible for over the past few years. And it's not as if it's getting any better. In fact, the direction of travel is getting worse in regards to Chinese espionage, in regards to Chinese repression, in regards to Chinese threats towards Taiwan, in regards to what's happened in Hong Kong. And so, when a country is heading on a worse direction, it seems unclear why we would go and give them a meeting which can only be used for PR purposes on their regard. I'm not saying cut off all ties with them. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, did we really need to go to Beijing and sort of, kind of give them the credibility that gives them? I think it's a big mistake, actually.
But it also just seems to be China's general reaction whenever we pipe up about something. So when they were, kind of breaking to the terms of our agreement with Hong Kong, and we were saying, look, do you mind just not doing that? We've basically got a contract here about how we behave. And they go, oh, well, if you want to go to war with China. No, we don't want to go to war with China. We're just asking you, could we just stick to the rules of the agreement? Well, if you want an enemy of China, they just go from naught to aggressive in no time at all. And they don't, I'm just convinced that they don't care about us. They just see us as an annoyance.
Well, that now you're getting onto something very interesting, because what is it the Chinese Communist Party actually wants? What it wants is dominance. It's not interested in partnership. It's interested in being the top dog internationally. That means supplanting the US in particular, but anyone who wishes to enforce a rules-based system, they're not interested in. And because we are a prime defender of that international system, of course our view doesn't count. Our view will never count, because this is a communist party. It may not be a communist party in terms of economics anymore, but it's a repressive, dominating communist party that has no room for alternative views than its own. And it's a big mistake to forget that. And I think we are forgetting what that party is, what that country's government actually is, thinking we can somehow influence it. We can't. They're not interested.
No, they're not interested, but also they are the polar opposite of everything that we claim to stand for. And for all of those people that line British shores at the moment saying what a horrible little hellhole Britain is because of the way that we treat people who arrive here illegally on boats. And then look at what China are doing to people at the minute, supposed death camps for members of a particular Islamic sect, the Uyghur Muslims. You look at the way that they treat women over there, the complete and utter lack of any political expression or freedom. I mean, they are really the exact opposite of what we claim to care about in this world. I mean, we're just too afraid to tell them that, are we?
Well, I think, again, you're onto something here. It's not about the sort of us telling them on our own, I think. What we have to do collectively, and I think this has been a growing realization over the past few years, because if you recall how the Chinese normally act when they're called out is to try and punish, as you say, go from zero to aggression within no time at all. And if you stand up against China on your own, they will go for you. But if you stand up collectively against China, as a growing number of countries are, saying, actually, we've got serious concerns about what you're doing domestically and internationally, you stand a much better chance with this coalition, if you like, of countries together. Because who are the Chinese going to attack? Everyone? That's not going to make any sense for them. And if you want a really comprehensive and sensible policy towards China, it's going to be collective response to Chinese aggression. And it's going to be a collective sort of showdown of what Beijing is trying to do, because only in that way are you going to get the Chinese to behave responsibly internationally.